Hello, it's Melinda from Scrapbooking and Craft, and welcome to day 2 of the Great International Craft Show here in Australia in September 2021. And hello if you're watching on replay as well. In today's class we are going to play with some Distress Oxide Inks and my fantastic new stencils that I have in my store, some black cardstock cutouts, some white cardstock cutouts, and some chipboard sayings to make these fantastic cards. And we're going to make them sort of a 2-for-1 card. You have to stay tuned to find out. Basically, when we're going to make one background turned into 2 cards. Sounds good, hey? Twice the amount of cards in half the time. Without further ado, let's get card making. Okay, so let's get started. So you've just seen the finished cards, and we're going to make lots of little elements, and then we're going to put all our 4 cards together at the end. So what I like about these 4 cards is I'm going to make we'll stencil one background and actually get 2 out of it, which is kind of fun. So I'm using my new tree stencil as well as the new poinsettia Christmas stencil. So all the products I use in the classes will be on our website in a separate section. Down the left-hand side, it will say Gics11 class products, I think it says. Oh, hang on. What's it say? Gics products used in classes. That's pretty good to say that, isn't it? Okay, so these will be linked in that, so you don't have to go searching around for them. They won't be split down by class, unfortunately, but you should be able to recognise them by the pictures. If you've got any issues, don't hesitate to email me. So we're going to use Distress Oxide Inks, and we're going to use a big old blending brush, because they're kind of fun to use. So the first thing I'm going to do is, actually I should have checked before I started press film. This is how we clean our blending brushes. We just basically go onto a scrap bit of paper or some paper towel just to get any ink out. I will start with the green one, and then it won't matter if I put a little bit of green into my red. So I've just cut some mixed media cardstock down to 6 by 6 inches. All these stencils are just under 6 inches. I'm going to die cut this down anyway. Now, I could stick this down with some washi tape. I tend to just hold my stencils because it's just easier. So I'm using peeled paint for our green. So I want lots of ink on my blending brush, so I'm going to be quite hard and go round and round and round. Lots of little bristles here to pick up the ink, which is awesome. Excuse my phone going buzz. It just buzzes all day. Hopefully it doesn't ring. If I pause rather quickly, I know the phone time. Okay, so we're going to go round and round in circles holding our stencil and blending brush. I don't mind that I'm getting lots of ink on top of the stencil. I actually want lots of ink on top of the stencil. I don't mind that I'm getting it off this side of the stencil because, as I said, I'm going to die cut this panel down anyway. So I'm just going to whiz it round. So you sort of want to get lots of ink through the stencil. I want this to be quite bold. And then I want lots of ink sitting on top of the stencil, as you can see here on the left-hand side, because we're going to take a print of it. So we're basically going to create a positive and a negative look for our stencil. Usually when I take my blending tool to my ink pad, I'm being quite gentle and I'm picking up a little bit of ink, but I want lots of ink this time. Okay. When you're happy with the colour that you've got in the background, I think I'm happy with that. I've got a bit of fading around the edge on the trees, but some of that will be cut off anyway. So look, lots of juicy ink left on here. I don't know whether you've seen this technique before, but we are going to cover up our ink pad so we don't actually squirt that, which would be a good idea. Get our blending brush out of the way. I don't want to squirt that either. Now we're going to give this a few squirts with just water. You want to sort of flood it, but not flood it too much. That's why I haven't flooded it too much. So you can see all the ink beading up. You want to then take a piece of cardstock. I've got 2 cardstocks in my hand. And line it up. Press it down and give it a bit of a rub. This is going to take a print off our stencil. It's one way of cleaning up your stencil and getting a nice print. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So just bear that in mind. You don't get a perfect print. Just going to have a sneaky look. Ooh, I like that. So I'm just giving a good press with my fingers. Just leaving my fingers in one spot and moving my hand. So this hand's still, this hand's moving, and then just changing it around. Let's have a look. Oh, sugar. Didn't want to do that. Ooh, isn't that nice? So what you'll get is you'll get the reverse of your stencil. So on this one on the left, we've got the trees. This one we've sort of got the background patchy with the trees, which looks rather cool as well. So if you flood it with too much water, it will actually make it too, it will dilute the ink too much. Now we're going to clean up a mess we've got here. So look, our stencil is almost clean. So 2 for 1. This is about the extent I clean my stencils. I've only just started to use these stencils. I haven't put paint on them at all. So they are still quite clean. Give me another week. They're not going to be clean for much longer. So that's the extent I clean my stencils. So put that one aside for a minute. We need that one later. Now we're going to just clean up our work surface a bit. I am working on a glass mat, which makes it quite easy to clean up. We're going to take our mini poinsettia stencil. We're going to do the exact same thing, except with a different stencil and a different ink. Now what I'm going to do is just see if I can get that green ink out of my blending brush, because I loaded it up quite well. I don't mind if a little bit gets into my ink pad, red ink pad. Going from a lighter colour to a darker colour. Gee, I did put a lot of green on. That was a bit heavy-handed, wasn't I? So having a little bit of ink on your brush and going from a light colour to a dark colour won't matter that much. Ooh, squeaky, sorry. This one is, I believe, Fired Brick. Yes, Fired Brick. So we're going for more muted colours this time around. Going to do the same thing. Going to load up our... I sort of need 3 hands. Where's that teenager when you need her to hold my ink pad so it doesn't scroll across my table? So if you do move your stencil, just basically move it back into place. It's quite easy to line up. Go round, whoops, round and round and round. So I'm not going for perfection with my stenciling. Totally knocked it then. Taping it down would probably be a good idea, but I don't tend to do that. I tend to rip more than I do. So it's quite... all thumbs tonight. Can't hold anything. So just going very dark, because I do want all that ink on that stencil, and I do want a nice dark flower. What have I done? I think that might be enough. Instead of trying to go fold it up again. Oh, I like that. I like sometimes a little bit of faded bit, so we'll put that over here. We'll get our ink pad out of the way. I like to close my ink pads up before I squirt my water in case I get them in there. I'm trying to not... I'm going to put that back there. So I'm trying to stop the glare. I've got a light just above me and it's tending to glare with the light. So this is a Couture Creation squirt bottle. I love it because it's got the trigger top, but it's still a quite fine mist. I find sometimes the push ones down are a bit... I hope I didn't move that. Are sometimes a bit hard if you've got something wrong with your hands, or your hands don't have a lot of strength in them. So they are good, and they're quite reasonably priced too. So a lot of stuff that I use in my videos that I don't stock myself, I actually get from Hillbilly Scrappy. When we're allowed to do in-person shows again, we team up and do shows. I teach all the classes. She serves all customers, works out well. So she stocks everything but my stuff. She stocks paints and sprayers and huge range of mixed media, huge range of scrapbooking stuff. Basically everything under the kitchen sink. That's where I get all my goodies from. I go shopping. So just giving the stencil a bit of white. You'll eventually stain your stencil, but that's okay. Some people like to clean them off 100%. I'm not like that. So what you can do is, if there's big bits you don't like darker bits, you can just tap it with a bit of paper towel. But I like how that comes out. I obviously lined it up really square on that bit of paper. So again, we're in for a good day. Oh my God. Doesn't matter, we're going to cut down anyway. So I'm going to leave these to dry, and we're going to work on another focal element. So let me go set up for that, and I'll be right back. The video, when I say I'm going to pause for a moment. It just means that I'm going to pause and go get something or go dry something. For you, the video, next clip will just change over, but things move around and people get a bit disorientated. You think they've missed something. So I'll just say I'm going to pause and then I will be right back. Okay, now we're going to make our little focal point for one of our cards using the reindeer stencil and mask set. So basically, if you hear the word stencil and you hear the word mask, basically a stencil has a hole and you put paint through it. A mask, obviously, you put your piece of stencil down and you're covering something up. So some people get a little confused about what is a stencil and what is a mask. So that is sort of our definition of it. Some stencils are masks in their own right and it gets a bit confusing. So I'm going to use the little deer down here. So with this particular stencil mask set, you get the 4 masks and you get the little deer or little reindeer. So what I'm going to do is, I don't need that bit first, I need this bit. I am going to cut this into an oval, so I'm just going to come in a bit from my page. I'm just working on some white cardstock. I didn't grab the red, that was handy. Aged mahogany. So I like to do the darker colours first because it's easier to go over your dark colour with your light colour and you don't really see it. So we're going to make this sort of little scene. Now with your stencil and mask, you do have in your mask this little bit of foot cut out, but unfortunately here it's just all solid because you just can't have both those things happening. But I don't think it looks too bad with your solid little foot. So we're going to go with aged mahogany. We're going to load up our blending brush. Just grab my small one to do the smaller work. I tend to use the big one when I'm doing card backgrounds. So I want my little deer to be quite dark. So I am going in and doing it quite dark. Oh my God, words today, seriously. If you have any questions or I say something that doesn't totally make sense, which doesn't surprise me, pop a note in the comments and ask your question or need something clarified and I will get back to you. If you are joining us for the Geek Show and watching this in the Great International Craft Show Craft Life Classroom, it's a mouthful and a half, I'm here moderating the comments and I'll see your comments. If you are watching this on YouTube later on, hi, welcome. Just put a comment down at the bottom of the YouTube and I will get back to you as well. So I've got him nice and dark. We just want to give him a little bit of a buzz with a heat tool. That is enough. Okay, now we want to create our background. So I've got a bit of paper here and for this bit down here, I've obviously torn it for something else. We are going to use this to make some hills in our green. So we're going to go back to our peeled paint. Just going to clean our blending brush. If I can find a clean piece of paper towel. Basically you just dust it out until you don't see much ink coming out. These bristles hold the finest little amount of ink, so they don't hold much ink at all. Okay, so we're going to load up our brush. I like to do this on the side. So I'm just going to turn over, so I'm going to make sort of hilly grass at the bottom. So I sort of just want to line it up and go and make a little grass hill. Making sure I'm touching right on that torn edge. And then what I'm going to do is sort of move it and offset it and come in a bit lighter. So I want to be able to see the layers. So I'm going to go from light to dark. See how we've got that definition. That's the first, sorry, that's the first one we did. That's the second one we did. So we are going to alternate sort of the, amount of ink we put down. Just so it looks like he's standing on a grassy meadow. We can always go back in and darken things if we need to be. Sorry, I've got to turn that around. Again, we are going to die cut it down, so you're not going to see. I want to go a bit higher. I want to go up to about his bottom of his belly. I'm just trying to position. I might turn this around and go like so. Go up this way. So by putting this bit of green over the aged mahogany, you're not really going to see it, which is really good. Just trying to get that edge in. I can be quite messy on the sides because I know I'm going to die cut this down. So the advantage of these brushes is you can start really, really fine in your colour or very, very light, and then you can build it up. I think I like that. See how that's got a bit of definition? And that's just a bit of torn paper. So liking that. Clean my stencil brush off, and I'm going to just fill in the blue sky at the background. Blue. I nearly opened my Age Mahogany again. We're going Mermaid Lagoon. Or did I want the other one? Did I want Faded Jean? Maybe I needed Faded Jean. Is Faded Jean not in here? Oh, there it is. I think I might go Faded Jean. It's a slightly more, not loud blue. Mermaid Lagoon is a bit bright. So again, we just have to go just above the deer's antlers because that's the size of our die cut. And I'm trying not to get really patchiness. See, I can't talk today. I think that's the theme of the show this time. Can't talk. Whoops, that's all right. Glows a bit. I can always fix it up a little if I haven't gone far enough with my die cutting, but I've got this sort of as a sample, so I know I need to go just beyond his bottom and sort of around here. So we need a little bit more around here. If you bring the blue down into the green, that's not really much of a problem. I don't mind that's a little patchy because it's sort of a bit cloudy in the sky today. I'm a bit heavy-handed when I ink. I have to learn to be feather light touching. Okay. That is looking pretty good. Actually, I like this one with a bit more blue, actually. Okay, there we go. And there's no reason why I couldn't have bought, if I was stenciling with a light colour, there's no reason why I can't bring my mask back over, and I should have, but I forgot. And I can come back in and do this. But when I'm using a dark colour, I don't, because that's one less thing I have to line up. And if I just, did I just touch that ink pad on the top with my blending brush? There we go. I want to do a little bit under his belly. It's a bit white. So these stencil mask sets can be used for card making, for art journaling, for jelly printing. Can't wait to have a fun jelly print. There we go. Let's stop because otherwise I'll make it messy. Let's put that over here. So we are going to move on to some more elements. Let me clean up all my inks because I think we're finished with those unless I have to touch up something, which would not surprise me. Trying to keep that over there so you don't get blinded by the light. Let me quickly clean this up, and cleaning off the glass mat is really cool. You just give it a bit of a squirt and grab your big paper towel. Actually, I just lied. We're not finished with the inks. We have to ink up some chipboard. So let's do that before we can totally clean up our mess. Let me go find the chipboard and the colours we're doing, and I'll be right back. Okay, before we put our inks away, let's ink the rest of the things. So I'm just going to leave that there so it takes out the shine. I'm going to have to work on lighting, soon I want to craft or film videos on my mat. So these two pieces here are going to be black. So I'm just going to take a bit of paper towel because getting archival ink on my glass mat is a little more difficult to get off. So we'll do it the good way. So I'm just going to take a black archival ink. I could paint these. I could colour them with the texture. My ink pad was closest. So I'm just going to brush here. I know this is probably not best for your ink pad, but I usually have an older ink pad I do this with, but I need to find a good one. So it'll work. So just stamping it on to get a good black coverage. These are quite fine chipboard pieces. So these are pieces I sell in my store with out of chipboard. I can also cut them out of the white mixed media cardstock if you prefer them not to be dimensional, but it's nice to have them dimensional on the cards. So this is a little hello. I decided to put a hello instead of another Merry Christmas, just for something different. There's no reason why I can't send a card at Christmas. It just says hello. Who says there's Christmas rules to follow? So just trying to see if it's all covered. Okay, so I've done those two. I'll just fold this over so I don't get black everywhere. We're going to put some ink on our little deer in a minute. And we are going to do this. And again, I'm just going to brush this over. Now, this chipboard is very absorbent. If you want a dark colour on it, that's fine. You can ink straight on top. If you're wanting more of a light colour, you may have to gesso or undercoat it with a white gesso beforehand to make the colour stand out. Just depends on what colour you are wanting on top of your chipboard. The Oxide inks, because they've got that, they're a dye pigment fusion. I always forget the other word. They have a bit of a white opacity to them, so they cover more. If I was to do this with a translucent ink, like with his original Distress inks, the colour would just absorb into the chipboard and you'd lose it. Oh, I like what's doing with the paper towel too. That's kind of cool. Just going to pick that up a bit closer, and that one is done as well. Okay, now this is the colour for my deer. So just getting the blue out of my brush, because I don't really want, sorry about the shaking, I'm trying to keep it to a minimum. Now this little baby deer, we want to just colour, this is I believe walnut stone, yes. Don't want to colour it completely. We want to have a bit of tonal sort of range to it. So I don't mind if the edges are a bit darker, but I want to leave the middle a bit lighter. Does that make sense? So I'm just going around with the blending brush. Just be careful when you're going over the antlers. I'm just holding the body so it doesn't move, because you can, just remember this is 400 GSM mixed media cardstock, but also it's just cardstock. So it's it can be fragile as well. No decapitating your deers, please. I'll leave that for my daughter. She likes decapitating animals and things for her art journal pages. I think I like that. Clean up my ink. Got a bit of water on that paper towel so it comes up really nicely. Just give these a quick buzz dry, and then we'll get all the other elements ready. So what I was going to say is these white elements are reversible. So at the moment my deer is facing to the left. If I want to turn him around and facing to the right, he does have a few burn marks or brown marks on him. Now you can get rid of those easily by, if I inked over with the brown, you would not see them. If you want it to be white, just put a white coat of paint on it. These are all laser cuts, so they're burnt with a laser, and it just adds a few burn marks to the edge of the images. If you have a more detailed image, like our baubles, have a few more burn marks because the laser passes over it and over it and over it. These one just goes around it. Okay, let me go get my next bits and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I've got my layers together. I know what I'm doing. Let's die cut some stuff. So I'm not going to die cut everything in front of you. I'm just going to die cut the ones that I need to explain a bit about. So if you don't have a die cut machine, you could certainly cut these out by hand, but why cut them by hand when I can die cut? Let me just move out a bit. There we go. So I've got my good old trusty cuttle bug. Now let's work on this one first. So we're going to take a oval that is, if you want to know measurements, let me see if I can actually measure it. It is 10 centimeters long by, I think that's, I can't read, 7 by there, which is like 7.5 centimeters. So that one is going to, we need to trim our card down because it ain't going to fit through the die cut machine. That's better. So we're just going to cut an oval with this one. So these are great. You can sort of line it up. You lose a little bit of his tusky things. I might take a bit of his feet off this time. And then just make our correct sandwich for your die cut machine and roll it through. Hopefully this is not too wobbly. As I said, I'm only going to do a couple with you and then I will go and cut the rest because they're just squares. So now we have our little panel. throw that up there. So this is going to be backed with this poinsettia one. Now I'm working, all my cards are, how many centimetres is that? 13 centimetres by 13 centimetres. So this die is just under 13 by 13 centimetres. This one is 12 centimetres. No. This one is, looks like 13 centimetres. So the cards must be 13.5 centimetres because this just fits inside them. Yes, they're 13.5 centimetres. But definitely measure your own. So I'm just going to do this one. I need to trim this down a bit because I need to send it through on an angle because my machine is temperamental and old. So I'm going to try to, I need to send the die on an angle, but I don't need to send my paper, or trying not to send my paper on an angle. There we go, that should work. So I'm going to show you a special trick what we're going to do with this one. So we're just going to cut a square, so this will be our first mat on our card. Yeah, it's on an angle enough. It doesn't like hitting that all that big piece at once. Okay, that is done. So now we should be able to take this off, and hopefully it has worked. And I'm cutting this paper, so I should have done a second pass, which I should have remembered, but that's all right. That's what scissors are for. I forgot when I do mixed media card, this is I think 370 GSM, so I should have done a second pass, roll it through again. That's all right. That's why they invented scissors, right? And I'm sorry if I'm off camera. I'm standing up to die cut and I had to bring that closer to my nose to see what I was doing. But anyone that's new or new to my classes or new to my business, I do have low vision. I'm not even allowed to drive. It's sucky my vision is. So sometimes I need to bring things closer to me. I apologise. I don't mean to do it on purpose. Now this, what we are going to do is also put a green circle underneath. But I want to bring a bit more of that pattern to the top. So instead of going and making another one, I'm going to take a slightly bigger circle. And I'm going to remember to run it through twice this time. And I'm actually going to die cut out of the back here. And you won't even see this. So this is a way to stretch your paper. So you don't have to make another background. Oh, my machine's broken and moaning tonight. I won't tell you how old my Cuttlebug is because that's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? Okay, so now we've got this and we've got this. And what I need to do is go die cut this one to be this size. So this is the top layer of our card. So this one is 11.5 centimetres. So I'm going to cut this one into 11.5 centimetres. I'm going to cut this one into 11.5 centimetres. Let's make me a pile so I don't forget. And we're going to cut this one into 11.5 centimetres. So I'll go do all these off camera, just cutting out the squares. Where the advantage of this is you can line up where you want your window to be, which is really cool. This one really doesn't matter, just make sure it's straight. But you can sort of line up with this one if you want that big tree sort of like that, or you want it down like that, or across like that. Looks really cool. So I'm going to go cut these three. What I've also done is cut a slightly bigger one as a piece of backing paper. This is really old Christmas paper. And what else do we need? We need another green one that is just the first mat of our card, and I think that's about all the pieces we need. So let me go die cut these and I will come back. Say you're watching all the rocking of the table. I'm trying to find the I can't see where to pause it. Okay, back in a minute. Okay, let the assembly begin. So we've got our 4 piles of cards. I'm going to go through them one by one. I tend to do this when I'm card making. I tend to make a batch, and I don't do them one by one. I must admit, card making is not my strength. It's not. Art journaling is what I love. Scrapbooking is what I love. I find working on small things difficult. So we are going to. I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at accepting I like working on small, but to be honest, I struggle working small. Could be something to do with my eyesight. So we're going to work on this one first. So we've got our Merry Christmas with our ink on it. We've got our little deer. What I find is this is a bit, it was a bit lacking, a bit bland. I put 100 different colours of paper behind it trying to find something to match. I've just got some green cardstock that I found in my stash. But I went and experimented, and I actually like the idea of outlining the trees. See how just outlining the trees transforms from this to this? Because I had this and it was looking, nah. This is why I struggle with cards, because I don't know what to do next. Give me an art journal page or a canvas and I'm happy as pig in mud. Give me a card and I don't like you that much. Oh, I don't know. So what I'm going to do is pop my stencil back over. Excuse, my head is going to come in shot. I do apologise, and it will get out of shot as soon as I finish lining this darn thing up. Okay, so I've lined it up. And remember, because we printed this, you're going to have to reverse your stencil or turn it upside down. Make sure it's nice and dry. And if I'm a little off, I'm not too worried with my line work. I could do it without the stencil, but I found with the stencil it made it a bit easier. So just tracing around. I'm using a Uniball Eye Micron fine point pen from Officeworks. This is the one I like to draw in. And I do apologise if my head's getting in the way. Something like this I tend to have to be a bit closer, almost nose on paper, to see what I'm doing. So if I make a bit of a boo-boo, that's okay, it's not the end of the world. It's only on an international craft show. So just tracing around. As I said, I could freehand this without the stencil, but I thought we'll use the stencil today. Your pen sort of rests against the edge of the stencil, which makes it a bit easier. And if your trees are a bit wobbly, that's okay. What have you wrecked if you stuff it up at this point? A piece of paper worth possibly, well, it's a quarter of a sheet, so possibly 25 cents. That's my philosophy. It's only paper. Now I wonder if I've shifted or whether my trees have shifted. Because I'm a little off when it comes to, just going to reposition my stencil this side, because I don't know whether my stencil moved when I printed my prints, but I just noticed it was a little off. So just adding this little outline of detail can actually just take a piece from, yeah, that's kind of cute, to wow, that looks really good. So I could choose to do every second tree or a scattering of trees, which I did to start with, then I just got carried away and did them all. Ah, stencil. Again, you can take your stencil down, but I don't tend to do that. So as we go to put the cards together, if I do something and you do it in a totally different way, like you work from the top to the bottom or I work from the bottom to the top, just do it your way. We're basically putting cards together. I'll just draw on the stencil. Got one more tree left. So everyone does their final pieces differently. Oh, see how that is just transformed it, even though it's a bit wonky here and there. Wonky trees, that's how nature grows them, so we won't complain. So I am thinking of putting some of these up on a bit of foam tape. I want to stick this one down flat. So I'm going to use some foam tape, some flat tape, just double-sided tape. Show you a trick I use to help line them up. So I want to put a piece of tape all the way around on 4 edges. You've got to make sure the tape is in one continuous strip on each side. And that was intelligent because that went crooked. Let's straighten that up. Just going to bring my bin a bit closer so I don't get flooded with. So then with this trick you have to, get that off my finger. Have to have one continuous piece of tape. It doesn't work otherwise. Doesn't matter if you've got little bits of gap in your tape and you don't want to overlap in either. I saw this on YouTube years and years ago, and I love this trick. Now, each of your 4 pieces, you're going to pick one end, doesn't matter which end, and you're going to peel back, I don't know, a couple of centimetres and fold it back so it's sticking outside your card. So it doesn't matter if you do these 2 corners facing in, and then you grab this tail up here. Need good fingernails to get this off. And then you go around and grab this tail. So it doesn't matter if the tails are touching or like this. So now we can pick our card up. Let's check our card front is around the right way. the other day I did something backwards. So let's slide this around. So we can sort of slide this around because not much tape is exposed. It's not going to grab. So now when I'm happy, I press down where the tape is exposed, hold my hand on the card and gently pull these tails. A, they curl up and they look kind of cute. B, your piece of paper sits there and you can just stick it down. I use this for card making, I use it for scrapbooking, I use it for any time I have to attempt to perfectly line up the layers. My layers are never perfect because I blame that on my vision. I'm going to use a bit of foam tape. So let's dive into my stash and see what I've got. A whole lot of yuck in there. I've got some of this which, oh, perfect. So this is just kids' fun foam. So I thought I would use this, and it's perfect that it's green. But if it was any other colour, it wouldn't matter because you don't usually see the side of it. So I actually have tape on one side of this, but I haven't used this tape for ages. So let's just see if it... Oh, it is actually going to come off and be sticky. That's always handy. I thought the tape would no longer be working, and I've got to find... I wonder where I put it. I've only got tape on one side. I've got to go find my craft glue. Let me pause for just one moment. I thought I grabbed it. Okay, because I don't have tape on the other side, I'm going to just use a good craft glue. Usually I use Helmar 450, but I'm 460, 480, 460 I think it's called. But I'm out, so this is just one I grabbed locally. Yes, it is coming out. I don't like this one because it smells. I need to go shopping. I grab most of my supplies from Hillbilly Scrapping that I do craft shows with. I'll probably get sick of me mentioning her name, but she has some fun stuff. Okay, let's make sure our card is around the right way. Or we might do a top fold card this time. And hopefully I can drop it in the right way. So I also like to use a good craft glue when I'm sticking chipboard and stuff down. Yep. So I've got our little deer for this one, little reindeer. I'm just going to pop that there. And then sticking the chipboard down, I'm just going to put some little dobs of glue at sort of the fattest or the thickest bits. Don't need to get glue everywhere. But you do need a nice heavy glue or tacky glue to stick the chipboard down. Something like this is great for paper and stuff, but it's not heavy duty enough for chipboard stuff. I like that. That's cute. Okay, next we will go this one. Let's move that down so we move the light out of the way. Okay, with this one I did say, okay, let's not do that. Santa wants to fly away. Santa, behave. I did say when I was die cutting that these were all cut to, if you're following along with instructions, I think that's 11.5 centimetres. I actually goofed. It should have been cut at 12. Should have been cut at 12.5 centimetres. But if you've already cut it small, don't worry. Just grab a coordinating piece of cardstock and you can mount it up. But I'm actually going to use this one because this was what I was originally going to do. I'm not good at making things the same. I tend to can't repeat things. So I'm just going to stick this one on normally without any foam tape. Just waiting for this glue to get down the tip. Just going around the edge and going through the middle. Again, I'll do this as a side card one. So again, just going to line it up, hopefully. Or enough to my ability of lining up. Now, on this card, we had Santa and his sleigh, which is one of my black cardstock cutouts. Do I want... decisions. Do you know, I think I like it this way. I think I like him on an angle and him down here. And I think I'm just going to leave them black because I like the silhouette-y look. I'm going to use this for the chipboard. It's getting a bit cold here tonight, so my glue doesn't want to run properly. Oh, I sort of don't want to move it after I've dropped it down. And I'm going to use just this tacky glue on the back of my die cut. Now the die cuts are reversible. You will notice there might be a couple of burn marks on the reverse side. You almost can't see it on the black, but the images are reversible. Does my glue pen actually want to give me any glue today? It worked just before. I tested it before I turned the camera back on, and now it's decided it doesn't want to work. That's all right. Plan B, we'll just use this one. I just got a big blob on my hand. So again, just putting a bit of glue in the fatter bits of this one and just adding a little tiny bit. Let's get rid of that glue string. So you don't have to get glue everywhere, just enough to hold the majority of the pieces down. Because it's going flat on a card, doesn't matter for little bits. Little bits not stuck down. Number 2, I like that one. I love the black with Christmas. It's a very cute look. Let's swap these around. Now, this one, what are we going to do with this one? We're going to stick this down. So this is from a really old pattern paper, and it's really thin, so I don't even know where it come from. I'm deep diving my stash at the moment and trying to use up papers and things, so I apologise if things aren't current, but there is so many beautiful Christmas papers, and I'm sure in your stash you will have Christmas papers as well. So deep dive your stash and use some up. Or go purchase some new pretty ones. Or do a combination of both. I'm trying to be good this year and use up stuff. Trying to be good, I'll put it that way. I've got my eye on some new paper collections that are out, and I'm thinking, oh, I need that paper collection to match the shape I've made. Justified anyway, I can. But it's good to mix some old with some new as well. Just being a bit extra careful with this paper because it is a bit thinner. I don't want to tear it, but being thin, it doesn't matter that it's going as an underlayer. What way are we going to do this? Let's do another top folding card. Just can't see what I'm doing. Uh-oh. You're going to come up? Oh, because you need to go over just a fraction. That's good. Oh, I think it moved. That's all right. It's going to have to go down now because this thin paper, sometimes thicker paper lets you pick it back up again, but we're just going to go with it. It's a little crooked. It doesn't matter. Okay, we might put this one up on foam tape as well because we've got it right next to us. Why not? To find the rest of my fun foam, it's around somewhere. And I just want to put a fair bit of glue to stick it on. I think it's time to go and block my glue. Pretty nice spiral on this one. Now decide which way I want it. I think I like it this way. The advantage of glue is you've got a little bit of wiggle room when you put it down. I love this pattern. This is really cool. Ah! Don't wiggle out the way, glue. Now we've got our hello to come in, and we've got our deer. Which direction does he go? He goes there. Well, these cards have come together. We've only got one left. Jeez. I thought it'd take me hours to put these together. Nope. It's amazing when you can make the 2 backgrounds out of one. You can then get a production line going. And if I'm going to get everything out to make one card, I will make several. And if you purchase anything from me during the Gics show, a card may find its way into your order. I've been known to throw things in orders. Now, I could have inked the edges of the cards, inked the edges of the papers, but I decided not to. I think I might go trim just a little bit off that card. No, it was supposed to be a bit bigger. Don't tell anyone, please. Okay. Now we've got this one. So I want to stick down my poinsettia frame. I'm going to do this as a side card. So I'm going to stick tape on the fatter sides, and I'm just going to run a bit of glue down the sides. So I often do this when I want to save cardstock, or I've only got the one sheet. I will go and die cut things out of the middle of it so I can use it. Cut a big hole so I can use it. Just going to put glue on it, wasn't I? Just a bit where the small bits are. There we go. When I stick this on, and that's upside down, it's always a good look if I can get it up the right way. Look, never know, I stuck. Will I do this on foam? No. Maybe I'll do one of the other layers on foam. Let's see. Let's see what... I do like them on foam because it does give them a bit of dimension. Come on, foam tape. Not foam tape, normal tape. So while I'm just sticking this down, I am back in the classroom on Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 every day for the Great International Craft Show, or Gics number 11, it's also known as. On Saturday we have an art journal page, and on Sunday we have a scrapbooking page. That should be fun. And if you're watching the videos on replay, welcome. Right under this bit of tape. This bit of tape doesn't like me. Come on. So I like just a little hint of flowers. It's a bit overpowering, that stencil, having a huge chunk of flowers staring back at you. Whoopsies. Let me rip the card. Let's not do that. Okay, let's make sure this is around the right way. I think I stuck it on a little crooked. Shh, don't tell anyone. So this will go almost here. I think I'm going to put that up on foam tape, but I'll put this down flat. Actually, before I decide whether I'm going to put that on foam tape, let's go see where my title goes. And I might not be able to put it on foam tape. Need good fingernails when you're using lots of double-sided tape. Okay, so I want to... Oh, isn't that cool? That flower at the top almost lines up. Now, I'm going to put that on there. What I think I might do is just... do I want to dust that with a bit of colour? What I want to do is cut... I'm going to use these scissors. Shouldn't use these scissors. I'm going to cut this word into two, because I don't want it joined together. So don't hesitate to cut up the chipboard if you find it doesn't work on your piece. And these are not the best scissors because I took my scissors away. No, I'm going to have to go get them. Won't be. As I often say, you learn what not to do in my videos. Don't use flimsy scissors when you're trying to cut chipboard. You need these fantastic big Hunkin Tim Holt ones. Or you need a decent pair of heavy-duty scissors. So then we can just snip in there and snip there, and you wouldn't... Oh, and snip the tea, apparently. Snip the, oh, sugar. Snip the tea. Just going to clean up that by a tiny little smidgen because it's going to bug me. There we go. So you wouldn't even know you cut that into two. Now, if I put that up on foam tape, I cannot. Should I have it like this? I think I had it like that. If I put this up on foam tape, I can't stick my saying on, so that's just going to go flat. No foam tape on this one. Make sure no tape is picking up dust from somewhere. Possibly picking up rabbit hair. Didn't want that to stick down until I'm ready to put it down. That's why I like not exposing a lot of the tape before I'm ready, because I often stick it where I don't want it. Okie dokie. Just going to glue down our title. Again, just hitting the baddest bits of the... I'm going to stick this in the middle. Just for something different. So even though I design chipboard, I often get to use it and go, oh, I don't like that. Let's chop it in half. Let's chop it in pieces. So don't be afraid to chop things up if it's going to best work for your project. Whoops. Let's put the lid on the glue. That would be a good start. Just holding that big chipboard down for a minute. So there are our fantastic 4 cards. Let's put them together. That we made out of stenciling 2 pieces of card, and we got 4 cards out of it. And added some beautiful embellishments from our new Christmas range that we've released this time. So thank you very much for coming along and watching. I'm going to take some photos of these and put them at the end of the video so you can sort of see some close-ups. And I will catch you tomorrow in the classroom at 4:30 with another art journal page. Can't wait to make that one. That one's where my heart is. And where my heart is the most happy is when I'm making a mess in my art journal. Bye for now.